Well, hello, Gloo Troopers. I'm on the road in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina, with an 0400 wake up in the morning to fly back to LaGuardia. Oh, I'm so much fun at 4 a.m. Well, anywho, a little quick video here from the road. Came down a day early, and I got to stop and visit with a couple of Gloo Troopers in Orlando with Fran and Trey. And they both live in the area. I hope the hurricane is missing you guys. We met over at Fran's house, and we had a great time. The time just clicked right by. Fran has some of the coolest stuff. He's got a magnificent model room, and he's also got a magnificent collection of the old wooden scale model kits that predate the styrene models. They're kind of the grandpa to what we build today because, of course, in 1936, when Frog made the first penguins, which were scale plastic model kits. It was just before the war. Of course, everything had to shut down for the war. After the war, things picked back up, but basically wooden kit models were still pretty common and was kind of, here's a block of wood, kid. Your model's inside. You just got to carve away the excess. And Fran's done that. He's made some beautiful builds out of them, and he's got some of them in his collection. And we're going to probably try to get together and do some kind of a documentary on the wooden models. And of course, Trey came over and visited with us. And Trey was the one who won the coin toss for the midway giveaway of the Emily. So I gave that to him. I was actually able to hand it off to him in person. And he's already got it fixed. It was had some broken parts and missing prop. And he's already got it that stuff fabricated and got it up on the shelf. So way to go, Trey. And hopefully we'll get together and do some stuff later. I hope to see him again at Model Palooza, even though if I do get down there, it'll only be for a couple hours on Saturday. By the way, Fran is also an automobile restorer, and he has this magnificent Jeep, which is 1942 Ford GPW. And that was just as cool can be. Of course, clearly I'm about twice the size of your standard World War II GI. But, does that look familiar? We had a great visit. I hope to do it again. And I want to thank both the guys for having me over there to visit. And as far as the Midway model giveaway is concerned, should start shipping the models out in about a couple of weeks. I've had about a dozen folks or so. Should be able to give all the models a good home. Other than the Emily, I don't think any of the models are contested. I gave Fran the B-26 Marauder, and which is 1/48 scale, which of course was a pretty ugly build because it was made to be able to be worked beyond the camera, so I had to make changes to it. It is definitely something you hang in the ceiling far, far away. But it was just a great time, and I want to thank Trey and Fran both for that wonderful visit, and like I say, probably do it again. And in the same trip, speaking of delivering models, I was able to deliver that Rodin DC-7 to its new owner, one of my coworkers. It is a model of the DC-7 that his father bought and flew cargo with for years down in the Caribbean. And he brought his son with him, and they picked it up from me, and they were real happy with it. It's always nice to see a model put a smile on someone's face, and who knows, maybe his son will get interested in building models. So, in other news, before I forget, first off, I want to thank everyone for all the good wishes. Yes, we're down in Florida. Up in Jacksonville, we haven't been hit that hard yet. Of course, I'm out on the road, but I haven't received any terrible reports from my wife. And, you know, if hopefully I'll come back and everything will be just as I left it. I certainly hope the Tarbis is there because honey does not like change. And also, while I was out on the road, we talked about the wheel wells in aircraft and airliners, and I thought doing the walk around, I thought, hey, you know what, I'll take a couple of pictures and talk about some of the things that we had mentioned. Some of the guys have an aviation maintenance background, and they told me that the reason you have that white and that yellow is, yes, they often paint the inside of the wheel well white, but then a lot of it's covered with a protective agent that gives it that yellowish tint. And of course, you'll notice this is just for detailing if you want to weather your airline a little bit. I know most folks who build airliners don't weather them. They look best when they're shiny and new looking, which is the way the airlines like them to be. But the reality is they get their share of wear and tear. If you're going to remove paint, of course, the Leading edge of the wings and the engine lips on a jet are hot. They're bare metal, so there's nothing to weather there. Well, but the leading edge of the engine nacelles tend to be where a lot of the paint is lost, plus up near the nose, usually behind the radome, but sometimes on the tip of it. The nose gear, you'll notice this sort of brownish speckly stuff. That's actually grease that gets slung off of the axle. Now, you don't normally see that on the main gear. You see it primarily in the nose gear. Of course, that traps a little bit of dirt. The main gear, you just get conventional grit and grime. Up in the wheel well, sort of a whitish, beigeish tint. There's a lot of plumbing up there. You can see the bristles on those sealing brushes I was telling you about. They do that instead of putting landing gear doors on a lot of aircraft that have a two-wheel bogie. You can't really do that with a four-wheel or six-wheel bogie like a 7.6 or a 777, but you can do it on a 7.3 or an Embraer 190. And inside the engine, a lot of jets have a ring around the inside of the engine that shows where the N1 fan is at. That tends to get chipped away over time also. So if you're putting that little yellow decal on there and it breaks, yeah, go with it. And just the usual grit and grime. Of course, you see a fair amount of it that comes out of the inspection plates. So you get a little bit of a thin, darkish tint around the inspection plates, or the rubber seals have a little bit of stuff oozing out of them over time, and sometimes around the NACA scoops. Also, the engine pylons, of course, the cones on the back of the engine are bare metal, as is the cone, or as is the pylon, but the pylon, subjected to all that heat, of course, browns over time. And so there's you a couple of pictures of that. Just giving you, a few things to look at to sort of, if you decide you want to detail out an airliner, get away from the shiny new look. Well, guys, that's all I've got for now. I have to try and make myself go to bed early because of that wonderful 4 a.m. wake up. And I'm just so looking forward to that. Oh, well, first world problems, right? Due to the hurricane, of course, my Florida legs for tomorrow have been canceled. So we'll leave South Carolina, go to New York, and apparently that's where I'm going to spend the day. My last day is supposed to be Friday. It's supposed to be flying up and down the eastern seaboard, in and out of Florida, up north. We'll see how that goes. I hope the hurricane hasn't inconvenienced you too much. And take care of yourselves. And as always, model on.